Well, thank you so much for joining me today. We're really excited to hear more about you and your workshop and your
My pleasure.
guitars. And we've got a new one coming in soon. So we're going to just kind of, I guess, jump right in and start asking you all kinds of questions, if that's okay.
That's perfect.
Yeah. Well, tell us a bit about your journey into guitar making.
Oh, into guitar making. That's quite, ordinary. I started playing guitars. I started playing bass when I was a teenager, like a lot of people. And very quickly, I became fascinated with the instrument, but how the instrument sounded more than playing the bass.
Mhm.
And I started to spend my weekends in guitar making shops, in repair shops, more than hanging out with my friends. And it really became an obsession very, very quickly. So at the end of high school, I started to studies in furniture making, just to introduce me with woodwork. And I was only doing that when I was in high school. I was already repairing my friends' guitars, doing refrets, doing fret leveling, changing the pickups and everything. And after that year of furniture making and precisely furniture repairing and restoration, I left France to go in Canada in the Quebec Luthier School,
Mm-hmm.
and I spent 3 years there. Finished the school quite the same moment. I am from the same promotion than Loic Borto
Oh,
from
really?
Bouchon Guitar. So
Oh,
he's a
yeah.
very, very, very good friend of mine.
Oh.
And after the school, I left for Australia and did an apprenticeship with a luthier called Phil Crickmore in Melbourne
Mm-hmm.
for almost a year. I started that because I wanted to learn more about archtop making, how the top behave, how to curve the top to shape the sound of the guitar, because it's really different compared to flat top making. And the we felt really good together, working together. It should have I should have stayed only a month in his shop, but after this month of internship, he proposed me to stay in the shop for the whole year.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so I was working with him for almost a year in Melbourne,
Mm-hmm.
and that was great. That was very great. I made instrument for him. I also made instrument for myself. He helped me a lot. He taught me a lot about guitar making, about precision, about how to organize myself in a shop. And I came back in France. I came back in Paris, and worked. After that, I worked for 3 years and a half in a big repair shop in Paris called Guitar Garage, and that was only repairs. And this is when I learned probably the most, because this is a shop that's we had probably 400 instruments per month to repair
Mm-hmm.
for a free luthier team. So that was a lot. I saw a lot of instruments. I saw, from the very cheap Squire and cheap Asian guitars to the vintage 1930s Martin that you have to completely repair and completely restore.
Mm-hmm.
I was also doing lacquers for them, for people who want to customize their guitar.
Oh.
So for a whole year, I was, really stuck into the spray booth,
Uh-huh.
uh, which I kind of like, doing all the lacquer for the guitars. And after 3 years and a half with them, I decided that I really wanted to start again to make acoustic guitars, because that was my initial formation.
Mm-hmm.
And I left Paris and I just started my shop here in Biarritz, in southwest of France,
Mm-hmm.
in 2018, and that's it.
Wow. That's a really, I mean, You say it's like a normal story, but I feel like a lot of our luthiers maybe kind of came to it. It's pretty common to hear people who came to luthiery later in life, but you have been doing it since you were so young and just kind of
Yeah,
immediately went from music to straight to not even just
yes.
doing basic repairs, but doing pretty like hefty repairs on your friends' guitars. So that's really cool.
Thank you. But yeah, for me, it's normal because it's like if I always, studied that. It's like when my friends went to, medicine or I don't know any school, I was going to guitar making school. For me, it
Yeah.
was my, normal studies and normal, way of doing a job.
Mhm. So are you from Paris or are you
Yeah,
from,
I'm from
yeah,
Paris. I'm born in Paris and I lived like 20 years in Paris.
okay. But now you live in the Southwest.
Yeah, and I'm in southwest of France, so really just next to the Spanish border.
Oh, okay. Very cool.
Yeah, that's it. So I'm in Basque Country, so Basque Country is a small region in southwestern France,
Mhm.
and the Spanish border is like 30 minutes away from here.
Oh, okay.
So
Cool.
it's very nice, very nice place.
Yeah. Um, so do you still play much music?
I'm not a great player. I
No.
don't play. I have to admit that I don't play a lot of guitar.
Mhm.
I learned guitar while I was studying Luthier in Quebec
Mhm.
because I started as a bass player.
Right.
So I really went into guitar because I was doing guitar making.
Mhm.
I was fascinated by the acoustic, the instrument, the mechanics, and the physics behind the instruments. And this is why I started to play guitar.
Mhm.
But I know probably like 6 chords and I play for myself, and that's enough for me.
Yeah.
I really prefer to see other people playing the guitar. And this is what I tell every time. When I finish an instrument, I play it for 30 minutes, 1 hour,
Mhm.
and then I'm done and I want to build another one.
Wow. So
Yeah,
yeah, you really are just like focused on that process.
yeah, totally. Yeah, really. This is the one thing that obsessed me.
Mhm. Oh, that's cool. What was I going to ask? So even though you don't play a lot of music, do you feel like the music that you like influences your style of making guitars at all, or is it kind of a separate thing for you?
It's more of a separate thing for me because I listen to so much different style of music. I'm of course I'm guitar making, so I'm a guitar maker, so I'm absolutely passionate with music. But if you walk with me for a day, the style of music during the day they vary a lot. You can go from free jazz in the morning, early blues in around the middle of the day, and at the end of the day I can listen to death metal or different things like that, or even electro music.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's two different things for me
Yeah.
because yeah, I'm building acoustic guitars, and if I spend some time, I just discover a new band of electro music, I spend weeks listening to only that. It will
Yeah.
not influence my way of
Yeah.
making it.
You're not going to start building like synths or something.
Yeah.
Um, so how did you land on your sort of like your style with kind of incorporating those vintage inspired designs and aesthetics then?
It came really when I was doing repairs in Paris.
Okay.
Because when I finished the school in Quebec, I was really into contemporary guitar making
Mhm.
because this is how we learn guitar making in Quebec.
Mhm.
It's very your inspiration because I am a young guitar maker, so my inspiration are not vintage Martins, but I started to study guitar making with Somoji's work
Mhm.
or Michiro Matsuda or really contemporary or modern builders.
Mhm.
And when I went back in Paris and I started to do repairs, I started to see, more vintage guitars and more vintage instruments, and I started to really appreciate the sound of those instruments,
Mhm.
and also really appreciate the history behind them.
Mhm.
The patina, the fact that they are mostly perfect studio guitars.
Mhm.
Yeah, you know, the sound of a guitar of a vintage guitars is always perfect to play pop music or rock or you know studio songs because it fits with everything.
Yeah.
Um, and I was, you know, I became very close with studio musician also. So I started to went really into this world of, you know, more traditional guitars, but still having this contemporary way of building background.
Mhm.
And I really wanted to mix those two parts of you know those two way of making guitars and sing the guitar.
Yeah.
So this is what are my guitars. This is really a mix of you know vintage inspiration, and also I want to make you know very balanced guitar, but I want also to have that modern kind of sound. You know, kind of more power, more impressive guitars.
Mhm.
Uh, so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, your guitars are really distinctive in that way that you can see. I mean, because like usually folks go for like being more Martin-like or Gibson-like, and that's you can really see that very clearly, or they're very modern. But yeah, yours are just such a kind of unique combination of both, and you have such like cool little touches, and yeah, it's your guitars definitely stand out for sure. Um, what are some of your influences outside of woodworking or luthiery that influence your aesthetic choices or your builds?
That's mostly woodworking and luthiery. I love you know Art Deco. As you can see on my guitars, I love you know the whole Art Deco movement, especially in furniture making because it's you have incredible furniture makers, architecture. Um, but I try to keep feeling simple on my guitars. You know, I've got some little appointments, my bridge, the
Yeah.
triple back strip on the back, the little appointment on the headstock, but I try to keep it as simple as possible.
Mhm.
Um, because I want, this is also something I realized when I went back in Paris. When I left the Luthier school, I really wanted to do, you know, intricate work, you know, meters and stuff like that. Like I wanted to prove something to myself that I can do, you know, really decorative and complex, you know, decorative work on my guitars. But I realized that I was afraid of playing my own guitars. I
Yeah.
didn't want, you know, to play it with a pick or make dents into the lacquer. And you know, I want my guitars to be a tool for musician, not a piece of art.
Yeah.
You know, I want to be a tool and to get old and take dents and you know, I use a full natural cellulose lacquer. I don't have like a polyurethane base coat.
Mhm.
It's only nitrocellulose, so with the time you will see the grain of the fiber of the wood reappear. You will. So yeah, I want you know my guitar that are brand new right now to look like real vintage guitars in 20 years.
Mhm. Oh, very
So
cool.
yeah, I try to keep things simple.
Awesome. So you have 5 models that you make right now. How did you decide on those particular 5?
Simply because I wanted to have kind of you know from the smallest to the biggest.
Mhm.
Um, I hesitated for quite a long time. Of you know, I've got the B51. This is basically a J 185 you
Mhm.
know model, and I hesitated for a long time between the J 185 and the J 200, which
Mhm.
is a bit bigger. But I always found out that you know the J 200 is really too big for me. There is too much air inside the guitar, and most of the time I tried the guitar, I was a bit disappointed because you've got a big guitar in your hands,
Mhm.
you play it, and there is not that much power and not that much
Ah.
bass on those instruments. And I get more basses and more power with a 16-inch small jumbo than
Mhm.
with a 17-inch, big super jumbo.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been a big fan of Gibson aesthetics.
Yeah.
The B1 is an L1, the B26 is an L00. I got only the B30, which is a Martin OM, because there is, this is the perfect combination, and
Yeah.
the middle of all guitar, the middle shape of, and the middle size of all model that exist.
Mhm.
But that was pretty simple. I wanted a guitar of each size to fit kind of each players.
Mhm. Yeah, that totally makes sense. What do you do for bracing on your guitars? Do you do scalloped X bracing, or do you have a different approach?
No, this is a double X bracing.
Mhm.
So there is a main X, which is not scalloped, which is only tapered,
Okay.
and there is a second, X bracing, which is really thin. It's 5 millimeters wide and probably 6 to 8 millimeters tall braces. So that's really thin behind the first X brace. And I try to keep. I know that most of modern builders make quite thin tops with very high and very thin braces, but I prefer the sound of thick tops. So most of my tops,
Mhm.
start at almost 3.2 millimeters
Okay.
for the biggest models, and 3 millimeters for the smallest one. And I really reduce the size of my bracings. I want my top to support itself. I
Mhm.
want I want it to I don't want my bracing to be the main producer of sound. I want really the top to support itself and to produce the sound of the guitar.
Mhm. That makes sense. Did you kind of come to that through just like all the repair work you did and seeing
Yeah,
guitars
definitely.
break down over time?
Because all the guitars I saw with very thin tops have kind of a fatigue in between the braces, and you see that after 15 years, 20 years, and all the thin top guitars they get very, they get fatigued.
Mhm.
So you see in between the braces that the top is, kind of not falling apart. I don't know the term in English, but it,
Yeah, kind of sagging or bellying.
yeah, exactly, and the sound is not becoming very great
Yeah.
uh, compared to really thick top. I had recently in the shop a 1954 J185,
Mhm.
and it sounded incredible. And when I looked inside the top, that was like, vintage Gibson work, so a lot of glue and not the cleanest job ever, but the guitar was incredible, and the top was almost 3.5 millimeters.
Wow.
So yeah, I was okay. Yeah, on the long term, I think this is a better idea to have,
Yeah, that makes sense.
thicker tops,
Mhm.
especially for this kind of guitar where I
Yeah.
want people to play them. Really, it's
Yeah.
not a collection object or an art piece. It's an effective tool for
Yeah.
music.
Yeah. You want people to get out and bang on it and record with
Yeah,
it.
that's it.
Yeah.
This is what I want. I always prefer when people come back in the shop with a guitar with pick marks and playing marks everywhere. I'm kind of happy with it.
Mhm.
But when people come back in the shop with a guitar that has almost no playing marks, I'm just freaking out. He doesn't like it. He doesn't play it. I'm just
Yeah.
shit. What's happening?
Yeah, that's kind of like I can see as a luthier why you would definitely prefer that.
Yeah,
So this one is the B26, which is essentially your L00,
that's it.
and it's a Adirondack and Indian rosewood. How do you feel about working with those kind of classic tone woods versus maybe some of the more alternative ones these days?
Classic tone wood, it's convenient because you probably like you, I played so many, Indian rosewood, guitars, and I kind of know the whole range of tone I can get with those woods. So there is no real surprise. I really know what will be the result of the guitar, of the tone of the guitar. So it's kind of easy to make a guitar with those wood. When you are working with a more alternative wood, there is always a surprise.
Yeah.
Especially for like chestnut. I only played like 3 guitars made out of chestnut, and this is guitar I made. So there is always you at every guitar you discover a new face of this stone wood, and it would take hundreds of guitars to be sure of the whole range of tone you can get with a new tone wood.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it. Working with traditional tone wood is kind of convenient because you already know what kind of result you will have compared to alternative tone wood you're exploring.
Yeah. So the next guitar you're going to build us is a B30 or your OM in the chestnut. And so I'm really excited to see that and hear that. How many have you seen other players or other luthiers building with chestnut much, or is that kind of something that you explored on your own?
Almost never. I saw recently a video of Ken Parker doing an archtop with a chestnut back inside. And this is something I kind of discovered myself because the chestnuts I use, the flame chestnut I will use for the guitar, has been cut in Normandy by a friend, and that was totally an experience. The tree was probably standing dead for 4 or 5 years. And he found it and he just cut it, and inside was beautiful flames and everything. And when I picked up the piece of wood inside his shop to buy it, I was, that's light, that's incredibly responsive. Because I'm sure that I can make a guitar out of it.
Oh, cool.
So I started to explore, and the first guitar was instantly a very good surprise. It was really powerful, it was rich, it has that kind of mids that you have in mahogany, but with more basses and something fuller into it. So yeah, I really appreciate working with chestnut.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we're really excited to hear it. So do you work with many other shops like ours, or do you primarily work with customers directly to build guitars?
Mostly customers directly. You're the only shop at the moment I work with. I like working. I started only working with with customer directly, and it worked well for the moment. So yeah, mostly independent customers.
Yeah. What do you think, like for somebody who's maybe considering buying a custom built guitar, what do you think players get out of working with a luthier like you versus just buying one in the shop?
Versus being one of my guitar in the shop, or being
just like working with you and like sort of planning a guitar out and speccing it with you versus like buying a Martin or something like that.
Oh, okay. Guitar making and industrial making is very, two different worlds. I think, Martin and big brands are mostly doing, great job with making guitars. But what people have to realize that, the most problem that I have with industrial making is that most of the guitar are overbuilt. But not because they don't know how to build guitars, but mostly because they don't know who will buy the guitar. So the difference between going to a luthier like me or like any guitar maker is that he will make the guitar just for you. And every time I've got a customer, I ask the string tension he use, how he play, the thickness of the pick he plays, the music he likes, his own history with the guitar, and that helped me to make a guitar just for him. Even if you choose traditional tones like Sid Casperus and Indian Rose, I really built the guitar and the structure of the guitar for his way of playing.
Okay.
So this is the main difference.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's a really good selling point for yeah, getting a custom built guitar for sure.
It's it's even more that than most custom shop in industry do. You
Mhm.
know, so if you go to Martin and you want to custom shop Martin, they will never ask you, you
No.
know, when did you started guitar? How do you
Yeah.
play? How many hours do you play a day and stuff like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. Is there a tone wood that you think people should consider more often, or whether it's a new one or a classic one? Is there something that you kind of think players should give more attention to?
Mm, Alternative tone was like you know cherry, chestnuts, walnut are great on wood.
Yeah.
But also, I sometimes I feel that there is a bit of snobism about classic mahogany or Indian rosewood.
Yeah.
Indian rosewood is an incredible tone wood.
Mhm.
Most of the time, I tell my customer that if I close your eyes, you would have the difficulties to make a difference between a Brazilian rosewood guitar and a good Indian rosewood guitar.
Yeah.
So it's an incredible tone wood. It's very common in the guitar world, but yeah, don't underestimate it.
Yeah. I feel like that's kind of my big takeaway more recently is that, like, getting into this world, it's like it's very fun to explore all these different tone woods, but at the end of the day, like, there's a reason why Indian rosewood is the classic that it is. It's because
Yeah,
it
really.
works beautifully, it makes amazing guitars, and especially in the hands of a luthier like you, it's going to be great. So
Yeah, it's light, it's responsive, it's stable,
mhm.
it's beautiful. It's
Yeah.
beautiful tone wood.
Mhm.
And sometimes I've got customers coming and they want, beautiful Madagascar rosewood. They want beautiful Brazilian rosewood. They are just, I don't have the money for it. I'm just, yeah, go for Indian rosewood.
Yeah.
Don't underestimate that. That's a beautiful wood, and you will get, a sound that's so close
Mhm.
to, the Madagascar and Brazilian rosewood where you dream about, that
Mhm.
you won't be disappointed.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know that you don't play a lot, but if have you built a guitar for yourself, or what guitar would you choose to build for yourself if you haven't?
Actually, I don't. I didn't build a guitar for myself, but I keep the prototype for
Yeah.
myself. So
Do you have a prototype of one?
when I'm trying different things on my bracings or my tops, and I feel that it's not working really well, or it will not, hold, on the long term,
Mhm.
I keep the guitar for myself until it falls apart. So I've got just facing me a B30. I can hit it like flamed ash and European spruce solid B30
Mhm.
that I made, but I made it with a very very light top.
Mhm.
I thought about it for using only silk and steel strings,
Mhm.
so it's very very lightly built,
Mhm.
and you know I am not sure that it will be there for in 5 years. I was really experimenting, so I kept it for myself. I'm playing it at home, and in 5 years, probably it will not be playable. So I'm doing that at every experimentation, and I'm doing it in the shop.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, and I keep it in the at home, and I play it until it doesn't work anymore.
Well, that's a good way to go. Just have all the prototypes.
Yeah.
So one last question for you before we wrap up. What's going on next for you? Are you going to go to any of the guitar shows or showcases this year?
Unfortunately, for the moment, I don't have the time to go to guitar shows. I'm unfortunately, but I'm very fortunate to have quite a lot of order for the moment. So yeah, every time I try to go to guitar shows, I had more orders. I prefer to focus on my customer that are waiting for the guitars more than building guitars for guitar shows, and that will get dents in the guitar shows.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I don't have anything for the moment planned. And I had a lot planned before the COVID,
Mhm.
but everything was cancelled, and I had order that came up, and for the moment I don't know any guitar shows that I'm coming in.
Mhm. Well, it sounds like you're not doing them, but for a good reason, because you're just so busy.
Yeah,
So it's always a good thing.
sometimes I would love to go to guitar shows, not more to see other builders.
Yeah.
You know, to meet with, you know, the friends. It's very a small community, so we kind of know each other.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see other builders, to have a beer with them, to have fun with them, to see their work. And this is the main reason I would love to go to guitar shows.
Well, in the meantime, I mean, hopefully maybe in a future year you'll go out and we'll get to meet in person, but otherwise we'll stay in touch on Instagram because you do such a great feed and have awesome photos of your guitars in the shop. And yeah, so thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so much for having me.